And what I love so much about what I do, because I was raised extremely poor, I was raised Mormon. I was really taught women weren't supposed to work or have money, right? So I've really had to stretch and grow to understand I consider this my role on planet Earth to make sure people don't feel the way I did for most of my life, right? That
Yeah.
like, no, 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 women are so good at business.
Yeah.
Like our
Yeah.
multitasking brains are just like, oh, it's gooey goodness
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
We're so sharp. And I love demystifying it and reminding people over and over business math, fourth grade, tops. You do
Oh,
not need anything beyond that. This is
100%.
simple.
Yeah.
Stop being afraid of it, and we'll like rip off all of the mystery and make it fun.
You are in for a treat today because I am talking to Sarah Walton. Sarah is a business coach and sales expert who's been featured on the Today Show. She's spoken at dozens of women's conferences all over the world, and she's helped hundreds of women start and grow businesses that they love. She works with a handful of one-on-one clients, runs the Sales Mastermind, and leads her exclusive Abundance Academy for Women in Business. She's the voice behind the popular podcast Game On Girlfriend and is the face of Sarah Uncut on YouTube, making her the go-to source for no-nonsense business coaching and real-life mind-blowing abundance. But the best thing about our conversation today is Sarah's infectious energy and general overall good vibes. She has such great energy. I know that you are going to feel it through your earbuds. So I hope that you're in a place where you can concentrate and really focus in on today's podcast episode because it is full of not only actionable tips and stuff like that, but tons of great mindset shifts and a lot of great vibes, as I said. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Sarah Walton.
Sarah, I'm so excited to have you here on the Scalable Marketing Machine podcast. Why don't you formally introduce yourself? Tell us who you are, what you do, and why you love what you do.
Oh, well, okay. So hi everybody. My name is Sarah Walton. That's Walmart that's Walton like the Walmarts if you're
Ooh,
younger, or the
yes, yes,
Waltons
yes.
like the family on TV if you're older. Don't tell anybody, I won't say. Anyway, it's so great to be here with you. I think you and I have so much in common. I will do anything and everything I can to put more money in the hands of more women. That's really the heart of my work. And I do that by helping women start businesses that make sense for them,
Mhm.
not just businesses that Uncle Joe thinks that they
Yeah.
should start, but like actual
Uncle Joe
businesses.
has a lot of ideas.
Uncle Joe, we love you, dude. But my favorite is Uncle Joe is usually in a corporate job, right? It's like, dude,
Yeah.
chill.
Yeah.
Okay, so we love Uncle Joe, but we got to start businesses that actually work. There's got to be, a profit plan behind them. There's got to be an understanding of the sales strategy and where the financial growth can actually happen. And
Yeah.
what I love so much about what I do, because I was raised extremely poor, I was raised Mormon. I was really taught women weren't supposed to work or have money, right? So I've really had to stretch and grow to understand I consider this my role on planet Earth to make sure people don't feel the way I did for most of my life, right? That
Yeah.
like, no, 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 women are so good at business.
Yeah.
Like our
Yeah.
multitasking brains are just like, oh, it's gooey goodness
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
We're so sharp. And I love demystifying it and reminding people over and over business math, fourth grade, tops. You do
Oh,
not need anything beyond that. This is
100%.
simple.
Yeah.
Stop being afraid of it, and we'll like rip off all of the mystery and make it fun.
Okay, I love that. Well, first we gotta reverse it back a little bit. I wanna learn about your upbringing and sort of what got you out of sort of this mental. I mean, because I know that you help women quite a bit with mindset.
Mhm.
So talk to us a little bit about how you overcome sort of your mindset, because so many of our ideas that we have about the world and about ourselves are formulated when we're very small.
Yes.
So if you grew up in this Mormon context where women maybe weren't allowed to pursue their ambition. So what was this hero's journey?
Yeah, well, to be honest, it started when I was 4. I know, just stick with me,
Oh,
but
wow.
I was watching the Nutcracker during a PBS fundraiser because they used
Yep.
to actually have those,
Yes,
right?
I
And,
remember those.
um, I remember turning to my mom, I was watching this ballet and I was like, "I wanna do that. I don't know what that is, but can I do that?" Right?
Yeah.
And I just fell in love with dance. We couldn't afford for me to do it, obviously, so when I say I was poor, grew up poor, there were times we would have half a jar of honey and like a loaf of bread my mother had made from scratch,
Oh, wow.
the end, right?
Wow.
Like not mustard, mayo, ketchup. No,
Yeah.
the end, right? Like that was really, it was real.
Yeah.
And so what I decided to do, sort of, thank God for MTV, is I really taught myself how to dance by watching Janet Jackson and Paula Abdul. So I can throw a chair or dance with a cartoon mouse. You know what I mean? I can do the drill things, like so much fun,
Yeah.
but very little formal training because we just really couldn't afford it. And the one thing I wanted to do was join the dance team, like the drill team in high school, right? So I try out. I'm so excited. I have bruises on my knees. I'm throwing chairs. We're doing the thing.
Yeah.
And I go to try out and I make it. And I'm like, yeah, baby, like dream from 4 years old. I'm here. It's happening. And then I get the letter where it's like, here's how much your jacket costs. Here's how much your shoes cost. Here's what the costumes are going to cost. And Victoria, I don't know if you've ever had one of those moments where you like watch yourself go through something. It's almost like this out of body experience. You're like, what is happening? That's how that felt. Like my mouth went dry. My palms got sweaty. Like my soul dropped through the floor because there was no freaking way. And I was watching the stream just evaporate. And what I decided to do, I know you're going to be shocked because I'm very frisky, is I got a job at the mall. And if you don't know what a mall is, go watch Stranger Things. But I got a job at like a little kiosk selling tchotchkes that nobody needed, but it was the 80s, so it was cool. And I got my first paycheck and I'm so stinking excited, right? I'm like, oh my God, this is enough for the deposit on the costume. This is amazing. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So I get in the car with my mom and my younger half brother. It's just the three of us living at home. And we went to the grocery store where they had service kiosks where I could cash this check. And as we're walking in, my mom says, Sarah, the strawberries are on sale. Can we get some? If you're a therapist, your mind just exploded. It's okay. We'll cover that in a different episode. So I go in and I'm like thinking of the costumes. I'm thinking of the strawberries. And I'm like, yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. So I go get my cash and I go over to the express checkout lane to find them. And they're not there. I'm like, where they go? I'm looking up and down all the aisles. And finally I see them in line with a cart full of groceries. And I'm looking at it and it's groceries I know my mother cannot buy.
Yeah.
It is my brother's favorite breakfast cereal. It's milk. The damn strawberries are in there. There's bread. There's lunch meats for his lunches. And I'm standing there, Victoria, and I'm like, I can buy something I've wanted for as long as I can remember, or I can take care of my family, but I can't do both. And in that moment, I decided that would always be true. I could always take care of my family, but not myself. Or I could take care of myself, but then I couldn't take care of my family. And cut to, I become this executive in New York City. I'm killing it. I've got this amazing corner office. I've got an awesome staff. I've got a freaking FICA tree in my office, right? Like, I hate my life. I am so miserable. But my family is getting this fat paycheck, right? And I am dying. Like I had stomach aches all the time. I was super thin. It just was awful. And there was one moment in that office. I'm hearing the clock tick in my office. And my daughter calls and says, Mommy, I miss you. And something broke. And that moment was the first time I'd remembered that moment in the grocery store. And the moment that I knew I could start to turn this around was when I realized a 16-year-old girl was running my life. A 16-year-old girl had decided she could never take care of her family and herself. And I was living as if that was true. And I don't like leaving people hanging. People are always like, what did you do? So I bought the groceries that day. People are like, woman, I'm sorry. So I bought the groceries that day. And what happened that was so extraordinary is one of my friend's moms heard what had happened and she chokes me up still to this day. She ended up paying for my costumes for me, which was unbelievable. And then in 2019, right before COVID started being a thing, I held a conference in Salt Lake City so I could bring like all my worlds together. And I got to bring this woman up on the stage with me. This is known as my grocery store story. And I got to bring her up and say, how many of you know my story? And every hand went up, right? And then I said, this is the woman who paid for my costumes. And I got to thank her publicly. It was amazing. And she died in 2020.
Oh, Jesus.
It was like so moving and so like mind blowing. And I don't know if you feel this way, Victoria, but sometimes when we run a business and we're really connected to our founding story like this, and we love what we do so much, it almost, you forget that it really happened. Like this really happened to you. And so to have that full circle moment with her, somebody else who'd witnessed the story, who'd lived through the story with me, it was so meaningful. And what I got to say on the stage that day was, this is what women do with money. She changed my life. And we know how many lives that I've been able to change through my business because she had money in her hands.
Yeah.
And that's why this is my goal, is because we do awesome things with money. I think, God bless men, they've had their turn
Yeah.
with the bazillions of dollars, and they're killing other people's children with it. I would much rather we drop food, medicine, and water
Yeah.
where it's needed. If we can get a bomb within inches of where it's needed, why can't we do that?
Yeah.
And I think it's going to take more money in the hands of more women. So it was a long answer to your short question.
No,
That's
a
why.
beautiful answer. It's a beautiful answer.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I want to understand tactically in that moment, you know, was it sort of this experience of just being like sick and tired of being sick and tired when your daughter called you that day, and then the next day you sort of, everything turned around? Or how did you begin to gain the tools? And I imagine that you got up the courage to quit that job, you know, and I think that that's where so many of us women are stuck. And I think there's a lot of multiple layers there. I think there's this idea that having those things proves that we're X, Y, and Z. So walking away from that is difficult. But also having the courage to go towards something that you really want, which also is easier said than done. So
yeah,
what was like kind of your journey? I mean, did you quit the next day and you run out of the building, you throw, you know, the papers in the air and twirl around?
No, there's like, I always joke, there's like a Sarah-shaped hole in that glass office. No, I mean, it wasn't quite that bad, but I had already started a huge amount of personal development work. Like I started reading books. I started understanding the kind of gaps in my childhood, right? Like silly things, like I had to watch all the movies from the 80s because I wasn't allowed to, right? Like I was like, oh my God, I have so much to catch up on.
Yeah, you got to go back.
So it was like this journey I'd already sort of been on. And I think, you know, I can't take credit really for understanding that a 16-year-old was running my life. I think I had started to study so much where I was understanding we make decisions along the way, and some of them have massive effects on how we view the world. And that moment of understanding I was still acting like I was 16, that kind of jarred me out of it. And I don't want to say it was instantaneous. Of course not. These journeys take a while, but that was pretty profound. That realization of like, whoa, back this truck up. I have 2 children. I'm making a lot of money. I'm like, wait, why am I acting like I'm still 16 internally? And we know this is a phenomenon. I mean, look out in the world. How many 5-year-olds are running the world right now, right? We make decisions and then we live them out. And I had lived out a situation where I was miserable because my family was taken care of. And I was like, no. I want to rework that. I'm going to figure out a way to do this. And boy, was it not easy, but I want to figure out a way to do this where I can be happy and fulfilled and take care of my family, right? And now my office is at home. I make as much as I made before, right? And I'm here. I pick up my daughter and I do the thing, you know what I mean? So I think it was that jolt of like, hold on. And I think those moments is why I love coaching so much, because you never know when they're going to happen. But one phone call, one moment, one phrase, one thing can pop somebody completely out of a mindset that they thought was so real and so unbreakable. And that to me is the magic of coaching like this and really getting in there. And that was my own moment. I just happened to be alone when it happened. But it happened because I'd been studying, I'd been looking, I'd been trying to figure out what was going on. And I think when we really start to understand human behavior, we're so simple. We hate pain and we love pleasure. And so it's really that basic, right? So if we're doing something, that whole thing where we go, why am I doing this? Why did I just do that again? Like, why did I overspend on my credit card? Why am I not marketing in my business? Like, whatever it is, I say, what are you getting for it? You're getting something or you'd stop. And usually it is the reinforcement of an old story or an old decision. And what's so powerful is when someone can get, they're the ones who made the decision, all of a sudden they can unmake it. If it's something that Uncle Joe said at Thanksgiving, they get to actually go, do I care what Uncle Joe thinks?
Right.
No, actually I don't, but it hit me hard that day. Okay, well, why? What did it hit in you? Because if he called you a carrot, you would have been like, Uncle Joe, you taking your meds? Right? You'd be like, dude, you okay? But he said something that hit. Why did you believe it? What's happening inside of you that had you believe that? And it's in those moments that I think the magic of business growth happens. And I always tell all of my clients, anybody who knows me, my mantra is, you know, massive business success is 20% strategy and it's 80% mindset. And anyone who has tried to put in a strategy, they're like, this is never going to work. This is so stupid, right? It's not going to work. I don't care what you're doing. It's not going to work until you get your mind right. And you've got to approach it in such a way of like, I'm going to figure out how to make this work. Right. And it's one of the reasons I love so much, Victoria, your direction for people, become a master at one thing.
Yeah.
Because that's a mindset shift, right? That is like, I can master one thing, and all of a sudden you can.
Yeah.
And I think that is where business success lies.
Well, what I love about what you just said, and this is so good, and I want to know how you really work with people to kind of uncover these things, because what I know to be true in my own life is mirror what you said, is that a lot of times just uncovering these beliefs, like once it's exposed in the light of day, actually its power starts to like atrophy, right? So a lot of times, like, especially when it comes to money mindset, and I would love to know some of these key questions you maybe prompt women that you work with to think about, because just the idea, and I know we like maybe we don't see in the moment, but just the idea of journaling on some of these questions and seeing them in the light of day, that's what's so important, I think, to work with a coach that helps you sort of through these things, and to help to like expose maybe some things that you're not sure if they're, you know, if they're true, or they're really detrimental or not. But I think it is really looking at some things about yourself face to face. Just that simple act already, I think, helps to get the power of those things out of your life. But anyway, how would you start? Yeah, how would you start with someone that's like, wow, I think I've got some stuff kinking around in there that I really want to start to clear out.
Oh, it's so fun. Well, let's just do some usual suspects. Let's start there. Let's start with some usual suspects. And one of my favorite questions, especially when it comes to money, right, is where did you learn that? Which sounds like such a dumb question, right? It's like, well, I don't know, right? Find out. Because, you know, those of us that are moms, or if you've ever been around an infant, right? I remember holding my son when he was born, right? Just give me a sec. I'm holding this sucker, right? I'm like, this little dude doesn't know if he's a boy or girl. Doesn't know what language he's supposed to speak. He doesn't know what's cool, what's not. He has no idea what money is. He has no idea what time is. He doesn't understand that he's on a rock hurling 100 million miles an hour through space. Like, he knows none of these things.
Yeah.
And I like had this moment where I wanted to just keep him there. Obviously, that's not possible. I was like, oh my God.
Thank God.
You have to understand, we all came in that way.
Yeah.
And then people wrote on us, right? They wrote on their own fears. They wrote on what happened to them. We know the abuse cycles that exist on our planet. Like, here you come in, this beautiful little thing, and then somebody teaches you stuff. And it can happen with an expression like, money doesn't grow on trees. Who do you think you are? Those sorts of things that we actually hear, some people. And for others, it's example, right? For me, I watched back to our grandmothers helping us decide our lives, right? Victoria was, my grandmother used to hide dresses and shopping bags like I Love Lucy from her husband. And I used to watch her do that. I was like, oh, women aren't supposed to, we're supposed to hide what we, okay, no money bad, right? Like, you learn these things and nobody said anything.
Yes.
But where'd you learn it?
Yeah.
And just that, if you want to journal on something this weekend, like, grab a cup of tea and ask yourself where you learned that. If you are saying to yourself, I can't make more money, where did you learn that? You're saying, I'm not good with money. Really? Where did you learn that? And you'll start to see, oh, I learned it here. And then you back it up with your own behavior, which sounds crazy, but oh my God, my job as a coach is to alter human behavior. And the only way to do that is to get at the belief that is driving the actions. And there's never, ever, ever a time where we act without it being backed up by a belief. If you give a homeless person $5, right? You believe you are making a difference, or you wouldn't do it. People who don't believe, that person is going to go spend it on booze or whatever, right? Whatever the belief is will alter that behavior. And I use that example because everybody's got a belief about whether or not you should do that, right? And just watch your own, and that's cool. You can keep it, but where'd you learn it?
Yeah. And I love that. And what I think is so powerful about the work that you're doing is oftentimes, even when we identify, we identify those belief systems, or we identify where we learned it, and it can start to dissipate that power. But in my own life, and I'm sure you come up with this a lot, sometimes you uncover things about what you learned, and you're not like quite sure what to do with it. Like, there's some things that, you know, you can say, like, one interesting story, my parents struggled financially a lot when I was growing up. And one story that I was always told was this moment they were arguing, and I must have been like 3 or 4, right? they were arguing about money and they were really worried. And they would
Mm.
always tell me, you heard us arguing that you went and got your piggy bank from your room and gave it to us. And that just,
Mm.
right. Okay. But,
Mm.
but it was interesting because, well, there's a lot of different layers there, but my parents sort of really romanticized this this struggle when they were first married. They would
Oh,
always introduce
interesting.
themselves. Yeah, they would always
Mhm.
introduce themselves, be like, "Oh, we had nothing. We had nothing when we got married." And that story about how cute it was and how lovely it was for me to give them my piggy bank, right? And I sit with these stories, and sometimes I
Mm.
can't quite figure out what. I mean, I can have some ideas, but there's a lot of layers. And so a
Yeah.
coach or some guide, honestly, that helps you, I think, can get you to next levels that you can't get to yourself.
Yeah.
Because once you uncover, you know, what's the next step, right? So it's then, okay, now I understand I have the story. Well, now what? Right.
Right.
And
Right.
how is that really affecting my life? Because a lot of times it really is helpful. Just like a business coach or a marketing person,
Mhm.
we often say, in business, when we're, not living what we do, the shoemaker that has no shoes. Well, the
Yes.
reason
Yes.
is 'cause sometimes it's very difficult to see in our own lives from that 10,000-foot view
Mhm.
what's going on. And so
Yeah.
in my life, mentors and coaches that I've got has helped unbelievably to uncover those things. So
Yeah.
how do you exactly work with people? Do you do
Yeah.
one-on-one? Do you have tell us about that. How
Yeah.
can
So I
I'd
have
love to
2
know how we're
things.
going to work with
You're
you. Yes.
you're so great. So there are 2 ways I work with people evergreen. Like it's always open, right?
Okay.
Is I do have one-on-one clients,
Yes.
just a handful. But I do one-on-one clients. And then there's my Abundance Academy, which is a year-long coaching program. And that is where most people decide to go, right?
Yeah.
Because obviously working with me one-on-one is intense. You got to be ready, right? Like you got to be up for it. You're like layer after Sarah, layer. Yeah. I'm like, one more, keep going. And it's intense, right? And the
Yeah.
other thing I love about the Abundance Academy is I have found, and we have a couple people in there who've been there for ever since it opened, right? They're like, nope,
Yes.
sign me up for another year. I'm
Yes.
staying in.
Yes.
And it's because you're with other people, right? So you can see yourself when I'm coaching one person, you can see other people. You still get access to me one-on-one. We have a group Voxer chat. You should have seen that thing blow up yesterday. It was awesome. And
Yeah.
then you also have Voxer access to me where it's like, oh my God, I'm about to get on a sales call, or I feel like I can't do this, and I'm there.
Yeah.
And I think that combination inside the Abundance Academy is so amazing. And we've had people 7x their revenue in a year. We've had people triple, and other people just get started where they were stuck. I was talking to one woman yesterday who has the FITs, which we lovingly call it, except we don't say F, right? So we have the FITs, and she's amazing. I mean, she's been in business for 15 years. She's put her daughter through college. She's amazing. And I'm like, we know this isn't you. So you just know there's a belief at work.
Yeah.
And we went at it and we got it. And she wrote me the next, she's like, oh my God, I've done more work in the last 3 hours than I've done in months, right? And I wish I could say that I have this special formula.
Yeah. Yeah.
I work with the person who's in front of me. And I think that's it's my key to coaching. Like if Sarah Walton has a method, it's I do you.
Yeah.
Whoever you are, you're in front of me. I do you. How I have this instinct to know what you need to hear, I don't know. I wish I could be like,
Yes.
well,
Yes.
it's just one of those gifts that some of us have. And I can just look at somebody and see oh, what happened? What happened? Where did you learn that? Who told you that? Why do you believe that's true? What's the evidence you've stacked up for it? And what's the evidence we have against it? And really rewiring that. And so
Yeah.
to your beautiful question, the next step is, what do I want this belief to be? And really starting to see, yeah, I don't believe that. Well, why not? Right. And then we dive into that. Because, that whole thing people do, like, God bless the secret and all of the affirmations that are
Yeah.
out there, that's wonderful. But if in the back of your head, you're like, this is a bunch of BS,
Yeah.
it's not going to work. And so when someone starts to work on releasing a belief, right, like starting to let go of it, we have to work on what they want to replace it with, because the universe hates a void, right? If you just say, oh, I don't believe that anymore, well, something else is going to fill it up. What do you want that to be? And
Yeah.
then that's when the work really starts to go.
Oh,
And then it's fun. Yeah, we do business plans. We do,
Yeah.
percentages. We figure out your
Yeah.
profit margin. We
Yeah.
do all of that
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
because you have to have a solid strategy.
Yeah.
But if you have that solid strategy and we're not working on who you are as a human being walking through this life with the beliefs other people put in your brain, it's probably not going to work. And that's where most people get stuck.
Yeah. And I love that. I love that 80-20, because you're absolutely right. It is, you can get all of the strategy in the book. And I think in the book, sorry, you can get all the strategies in the world from books and frameworks and all those things. But at the end of the day, I think that there's this storyline going about procrastination, right? And it's like, we're fear of success or fear of failure or fear of whatever. And at the end of the day, yes, you can think I'm lazy or I'm not productive, but it's these seeds of thoughts, these ideas that are really what stop us, right? Are we a productive person or not? Are we organized? Are we, are we worthy of closing that deal? Are we worthy of getting to that revenue level? Those things there's these insidious things that you got to just work through. So, okay. So if someone is ready to join the Abundance Academy, where do they go? How do they connect with you? We need to follow you everywhere. Where do you like to hang out on social media? Tell us all of it.
Yeah. So people love hanging out with me on YouTube, which I love. I have a podcast as well that's on YouTube. So much fun. And I go live once a month with Coffee with Coach on YouTube, where you can ask me coaching questions. And I usually have like a theme for the month that we kick off. And that's thesarahwalton.com, not because I'm the Sarah Walton, but because my name was taken. And then the same on Instagram is the Sarah Walton. You can find me there. And then you can actually really just go to sarahwalton.com and you can learn everything you want to learn about the Abundance Academy, or also like reach out and see if you want to work with me one-on-one. But yeah, it's boy, is it time for people to really dig in and do the work of getting these beliefs out of their way. And the one that I don't know, I just had this feeling I got to say this, is if you believe wealthy people are jackwagons, you're going to make sure you never make money. That's one that we don't always catch. So I just wanted to drop that in there in case someone's driving or working out at the gym and they're like, I don't know what mine is. Poke around in there a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's see what we can find. Yeah.
Sarah, I love it. Gave us so much to think about. Thank you so much for being on the show. We're going to follow you. We cannot wait for Coffee with Coach on those monthly sessions. And we're going to sign up for Abundance Academy, because it seems like if we can all just work on these things, we're going to make more money. We're going to save those babies.
Yeah, let's go. Come on.
Thanks, Sarah. Thank you.
Thank you, Victoria. I loved it.